to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM. It was a weekend, not only for our glorious boys on TSM, because they are still glorious regardless, but I also had an interesting weekend. A lot of work. So I apologize if I don't have the same gusto, the same energy as I normally do, although I'm feeling better as I continue talking. Like, I literally had to restart this podcast 4 times in the last 5 minutes because for some reason the audio wasn't connected to my recording software, and then my mic wasn't connected, and then the music wasn't working, and then I don't know. This is they say 5th time is the charm, right? Yeah. Oh man, I didn't even get to really watch any of these games except for kind of the Sunday game. I was busy during every single game. I watched them live. I knew the results. I didn't get a chance to really dive into them until this morning when I was rewatching the games and perusing the highlights. And man, oh man, there's a lot to go over, but I think there's a lot to learn from this. So I'm gonna just kind of go right into it. CLG game 1, and I do want to say, I want to remind everybody, I was like, hey, this weekend could be a trap weekend for us for a multiple reasons. And I really wish I had been wrong about that. Because everything that I was afraid of happening did happen. And there was a world where we went 0-2 or 0-3. That would have been pretty bad. Luckily, we picked a really good weekend to not be great. I wouldn't say we sucked. I know other people would disagree with me. I wouldn't say we sucked, because I think that there was a reason why we didn't play well this weekend. But every other team struggled. 100 Thieves went 0-2. Let me see here. So just to preface it, we went 1-2. Cloud9 went 1-2. 100 Thieves went 1-2. TL went 2-1. I didn't realize that they lost to Golden Guardians yesterday. Let's go, Golden Guardians. One day I'm going to do like a full LCS podcast, because I have so many thoughts on some of these other teams, like freaking FlyQuest pulling out a 3-0 this weekend. Like, what the heck? And Evil Geniuses, by the way, are now probably the 3rd best team in the LCS. You could theoretically argue the 2nd best, but we're not going to do that. At least not right now. But yeah, I mean, EG are storming forward currently. They are on, I believe, a 6-game winning streak right now. 8-game winning streak, excuse me. At one point, they were 14-14, and now they are 22-14. And shout out to Michael Termini, who went on Hotline League and stated exactly this, that Evil Geniuses would be the 3rd team to represent the LCS. He had 100 Thieves, TSM, and Evil Geniuses. After this last weekend, it's looking like that might happen. Dude, like, real quick, before we get in this game, what is up with Cloud9? Like, why do they suck so much in the summer? I just don't understand it. I really don't get it. Like, we can give them, credit for the hangover and everything from MSI. They really only got like a week break because we went straight into games. But it's just like, I just don't get it. I really don't. They don't start Sven. Like, they shot themselves in the foot so unbelievably badly. I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I don't know if they're going to be like, hey, we're just going to turn it on in playoffs and it won't matter. But they're 9-9. If this was just a regular split, by the way, it would still be 100 Thieves in first. And TSM and Evil Geniuses tied for second, with Team Liquid in fourth, Cloud9 in fifth, and Cloud9 would only be 1 game up on Immortals and would only be 2 games up on Dignitas and Golden Guardians. Wowzers. This week was like you guys should just go back and watch some of these games, because again, I caught like a little bit of every game. I watched the highlights for all the games yesterday from Saturday's games. And boy, oh boy, there are some crazy things happening right now. Like, I don't know who's gonna make it. Like, I for the first time since they announced last year that they were gonna do, the top 8 teams playing in the playoffs, and they changed it to these summer standings where they carry over. Like, I don't know about you guys. I actually think this makes it so much more interesting. I would love to hear your thoughts on this 45 game schedule, because I'm personally loving it. I think that this has been one of the best years of League of Legends in a long time for the LCS. I've really enjoyed it. I think we've got young talent swoon throughout all of the LCS. That swoon. I don't even know if that word is correct right now, but you get my point. There's talent everywhere, and they're all young. I mean, even 100 Thieves is a younger team still. Closer's still young, Abaдаge's still young, FBI is still young, and then you got bookends of Someday and Huhi. TSM are a little older, but you still have the young people in Spica and Lost, right? And Power of Evil's still pretty young. I think he's only like 23. Then you got, Cloud9. You got Fudge, obviously. Blabber's still very young. And Perks is a lot younger than you would think. I think he's only 22 or 23 still. So, even though he's been around forever, like, he's still really young. Evil Geniuses, probably the oldest team in the league, but you throw in Danny, and this team has just been that much better. Team Liquid, Jenkins is showing that he's still pretty good. I know they haven't been having the results, but they still look okay. Armeo, I know older, but still making some plays. Tactical, still one of the best AD carries in the league. Dignitas is showing some great talent this year. I don't understand why they won't play Saligo for Yasui, but whatever. But, Fake God, he's not necessarily young, but newer talent, looking good. Neo has easily been probably one of my biggest surprises this year, and become one of the best AD carries in the league. Revenge is getting his chances playing well. I think Insanity, I've preached it on here before. I've preached it to my friends. I think Insanity is super underrated. He is showing why. Even Raze and Destiny are better. FlyQuest literally just subbed out their entire roster, and you've got just triple coming out and making plays. Kumo looks like he's back in a very serious way. NXI has been definitely coming out and making plays. Tomo was one of my favorite young players coming up through scouting grounds. CLG is a bunch of old farts, but we love them. They're not that old, but Finn is still young, and he's showing what he can do. Then you got Golden Guardians, man. They go out, they get Licorice. You got Iconic, who's been playing much better than I thought he ever would. I really thought they only brought him in because of Niles, but he's clearly showing that he deserves to be up here. Ablaze Olive is one of the best young talents in the game. Palafox, who hasn't even been playing lately, he's still one of the better players, younger players that are coming in. Chime has been an absolute animal and really helped change this team. Another player that I loved in scouting grounds. You can actually go back and look. I'm not pulling this, out of my ass here. Like, you can literally go back to the game house and look. I gave really good scouting reports on, not that the writing was necessarily good, but like my opinion of them. Like, I thought Chime and Tomo and a couple of these players, I was like, I think Nick NXI was one I was pretty meh on, but he's proved me wrong if I remember correctly. But I remember Tomo and Chime specifically. I was like, Chime could be one of the best young LCS talents at support. And, you still have Speak, obviously, for us. I don't think I missed that. But, like, I want to take a minute to talk about this because, we had all this conversation about the LCS and all these problems and all this crap, about oh well, we need to get rid of the um whatever international slots and stuff, and we need to just make it wide open. Like, no, we're already seeing the results of younger players coming up, and you have teams like FlyQuest that we're seeing their young team come up. Dude, the 100 Thieves team, for Academy, and even their third team, they're very good. Like, there's a lot of young talent in Academy and stuff, and the more time they get, the more resources that are put into them. Like, this is the start of what the LCS has needed, and it's reminding me of what the LEC did when they did their rebrand, when they did their focus on bringing up younger talent, instead of recycling old veterans. Would not surprise me to see CLG just try to buy out basically 100 Thieves Academy. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much young talent, guys. The LCS is getting better, and that's why I wanted this preface, this few-minute preface, to say that this week showed that the LCS is getting better, and it's okay for us to go 1-2 this week, because of the fact that we're still near the top. We still have 45 games. Like, this season is feeling good, and we are learning a lot about what who we are and what we need to do to find success. And so, CLG are a much better team than what they had shown before. So a loss to them is not that big of a deal. Barely beating Golden Guardians. I mean, they went 2-1 this weekend. They almost had a 3-0 weekend by bringing in Licorice. He won Player of the Week because of of what he did with this team. And so, and obviously 100 Thieves are a good team too. So guys, like, this was a tough weekend. It's okay. We have a much easier weekend coming up. I'll go over all of this a lot more in depth later, but I wanted to preface this because, yeah, I'm going to be frustrated with a lot of these plays, but with the LCS getting better, it's making us better. It's challenging us, because I can tell you in years past, the stuff that we pulled this weekend, the stuff that we tried this weekend, we might have gotten away with. We might have just gotten away with it because of the fact that the rest of the league was just such trash that the bottom tier teams, you never had to actually be afraid of them. Like this loss to CLG, this almost lost to Golden Guardians. It's not because of the TSM curse, even though I said that last week. Where it's like, oh well, we could lose to anybody. Like, no, these teams are playing better. And in the past, a team like CLG probably would have been one of the best teams in the league. And now they're not. I don't know. There's just so many awesome things going on. I mean, the difference between first and fifth place right now is 3 games. That never happens. It's almost always like 7, 8, 9, 10 games sometimes. Right? Where like the 5th and 6th place teams are like barely 500. And it's really cool to see. And so as we get into this CLG game, I want you all to keep that in mind. This is not a panic weekend. This is a great learning weekend. All right, here we go. CLG. Draft. I really would like to know what is up with this being afraid of set thing. I don't feel like Huni should be able to play set. I know Spica can play set. Not that set's been in the jungle, but Power of Evil probably should be able to learn set. I mean, he's with one of the most adaptable coaches of all time in Bjergsen. So I don't understand where this disconnect is happening currently. I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of it someday. And I understand that Kallista's strong, but why are we banning it against Wild Turtle? Sorry, Wild Turtle. I love you. Most TSM fans really love you. But I'm not that afraid of a Kallista against him. There's like so many other things that we should have banned. Akali would be one. We have like 0 scaling in the CLG game, 4 melee, which is fine, but like I'm going to bring this up much more intently later on. I don't understand why I don't understand why Sejuani's not in there. Spica can play Sejuani very well. And I think that she would be very useful for the rest of this team. So I don't completely understand where we're at with this. But either way, we continue on. Power of Evil's Lee, I thought at the beginning would be something interesting. We had seen his Viego. It was good. His Viego is solid, I think. I don't think it's great, but it's solid. And I think, by the way, we're learning a lot about Power of Evil right now. In good and bad ways. And then, Lost God is Kaisa. So he's really the only true carry, I think, that we have on our team at this point. Early game. Sword Art's Aggression. We talked about this last week. I'm loving seeing it. But he's on the Alistar. It's very different than the Nautilus and the Leona, right? Because with the Alistar, if you don't get your combo correct, if you don't, if you're not able to do some of the things that there's not as much of an Ike. He's just more of a tank than he is a CC bot to a certain degree. And so, when they're diving, not even diving, but they're almost diving this Leona under the tower, basically. And it's just like, there's not much that you can do there. I don't think that that's a good call, especially because the whole weekend we're going to see this. Lost is not even close to being in position right away to be able to get this kill. And they don't get it, then they get turned around and Sword Art dies. It's not ideal, especially considering the Vars wasn't even there for most of it, and then he just happens to be there right at the perfect time to throw a Q in and get the kill. It's like, oh god, all right. But then you get to Huni. Huni's against a Mundo. Like, that's supposed to be like Renekton into Mundo. Mundo's supposed to be one of the best counters into Renekton right now. And Huni's like, hey, I'm just going to, hollow right into this freaking Mundo and gets the solo kill. So good. So good. Then we have a nice play around the Rift Herald. We get 2 kills. Plus we turn it around and we get the Drake. We get the bot tower. And I'm like, all right. Like, this is snowballing, right? This is what an early game lead looks like. But then we head into the mid and late game. And it's just mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. This is such a long game that we did not play well. Sword Art, way too out in front. And the rest of the team is just miles away. Seriously, like, this is a top lane play. And you're just sitting there and you're like, all right, where's the follow-up? And yeah, like, CLG do a good job to turn it back around and whatnot. But I don't know. But then we're at the Drake. Spica loses. He smites with the Drake having 100 health left. And I sometimes as like a jungler, it does come down to like knowing what your teammates' abilities are too. So maybe he was anticipating something from like Lost or from PoE or something like that. And instead they went on to the attack. And he loses it to another Varus Q. But like, it's the whole like don't turn one mistake into multiple mistakes. And Spica loses the dragon, and the team just tries to turn and overcommit to a fight. It makes no sense. The equalizer is way too early. Nobody's in position. Power of Evil is so far in by himself as the Lee Sin, which, Lee's been nerfed. Like, I understand that he's still good. He still has plenty of playmaking potential. He's strong, but he's not what he was. And yet we're playing him way too late in the weekend, if you ask me. And it's just like, I don't really understand what we're trying to do here. Like, I know that like they got the TP out of us. Like, we're trying to make a play so that it's not a total loss. But it just feels like we panic after losing this dragon, and the equalizer's too early. PoE can't do anything because Leona's just there stunning the crap out of him. And Mundo's the tankiest champion in the game right now. Like, it's stupid. You can't kill them. But we're sitting there. We're trying to damage this Mundo. He's not taking anything. I don't know. It's just such a bad play. We lose the fight. We can't do anything to him. And then we're at the 4th Drake. And we're bursting it down. And the play, the call should have been, Huni, wait for a minute. because we have this Drake down to like 2k health. We can burst this super easily. There's no way Speaker misses back-to-back smites. And it's going to draw them in more because they're going to see, oh, okay, like this, this dragon's worth fighting over. They only have 4 members here. Huni TPs into the backline. And it's like, all right, good. Like, this is looking good. And Speaker ults right over top of them. And, Pobelter is almost dead. And you're thinking, all right, this is looking great. Then we're on completely different pages. Lost is not, you look and it's like, oh, wait, Lost is literally still by the Dragon Pit. And it's not his fault. Like, I don't want anybody blaming Lost. Like, they made a call without the knowledge of where their teammates were. And this has been something we've seen on TSM Legends. They struggle with their TP calls. They have to get that down before playoffs. They have to get that down before Worlds. Like, those are the kind of things that worry me. I don't mind losing games. It happens, guys. We are going to lose games. I predicted, I said if we could get 8 losses this season, maybe 10 in the summer, that we would be fine. All right, so that gives us 2 to 4 more losses. I'd obviously, if we do 4, we would only go 5-4 over this next half, or this next round robin. That's not great, but it's whatever. But like, we can lose games, but we have to be able to get these sorts of plays down. Because this whole weekend, and again, on the off chance that there are a bunch of TSM people listening or watching this, guys, like, the biggest problem I'm seeing right now is communication is just off. It makes Huni's plays look bad. It makes Power of Evil's plays look bad. It makes Sword Art's plays. It makes Spica's plays. It makes Lost. Like, they all look bad just because of communication. The individual skills are there. The team fighting ability is there. It's just sometimes we pull the trigger way too early or way too late. There is a middle ground where you don't have to be perfectly at the same time. And we see here what happens, because if you have Lost in this fight, right? If you have him close enough, with Pobelter as low as he is, you can probably get a plasma stack onto him as the Renekton. I think he does even. And if Lost is able to jump into that backline and kill Pobelter right there, because he's actually in position for the fight, because they talked about this beforehand, Pobelter's dead. He does an insane amount of damage in that fight with his ultimate, because he's able to kite back. He uses his dash and ults, and it's right down a path, and it just melts TSM, specifically Huni. And at that point, right, if he's able to be in the correct position, which again I don't think is Lost's fault necessarily, then he can bypass the Mundo, along with the Lee Sin, along with the Renekton, along with the ult from Spica, and get into that backline, get those 2 kills, because I think there was somebody else there. I can't remember exactly who it was. But, there is the real way, the real possibility that fight, with just Lost being able to be in a better position. I'm not going to call it the correct position because it's not his fault. Right? They pull that trigger without your AD. The one guy who can truly dish out the damage is not there. They're able to probably turn around that fight. Instead, they give over the Drake, and we move on. The game keeps going badly, but then PoE is like setting himself up in their jungle, has a nice kick with Spica ult, but yet again, it's just the 2 of them against 4. And yeah, this fight is going to work out for us because Lost is finally able to get there. The Mundo's not there, so they're able to kill everybody else because they don't have the literal wall blocking for them. And we get Baron, and we should have won from here. I mean, we're pushing, we're tied back up in gold, everything is looking great. But then we're chunked out in a bad fight. We're still able to turn it around because Broxa jumps in by himself, just insta-dies to Lost, because, when you're by yourself, that damage from Lost is just killer. Then we're all over the damn place again. Like, we're pushed off. Comms are clearly everywhere. oh god, like the Mundo's just able to stand in front. We can't kill him. Huni comes back. Wild Turtle, 1 shot's lost. And this is all happening in the bot lane. And then we're just dead. And we don't have dragon stacking. So it's not like we have that opportunity to bring things back. And then the game is just still not over somehow. Because CLG's not a great team. But our comp is just severely limiting our ability to play. And our comp and comms, are just terrible. Huni gets found while losing... Well, he ults a Baron. He's probably able to get out, right, guys? Like, and even if he's not, I don't understand our call because, like, some people are saying go in, some are saying not. Like, we're not in a position to win this fight without the Dominus, without the right Renekton ult. But then, all of a sudden, after PoE's really not a great Lee Sin. It's pretty obvious because his positioning is the biggest problem, and I'll talk about this in the good Golden Guardians game. But like. He just goes into the backline by himself. He has nobody to freaking kick anybody to. And Spica's ult is just a zoning ult. Like, dude, I understand zoning ults from Rumbles, but you also have to understand Kai'Sa and the Rumble are the only true damage sources for this team. Because the Renekton is not able to do as much with a Mundo there. He's just not. Like, the Mundo is able to soak up so much damage from him. And even if he's able to get these kills, which, he did at one point, it's not enough. And then CLG are just up by too much. We have 0 damage. Like I said, when Spica doesn't hit his ult, we lose the game. And we end CLG's losing streak before they pretty much are getting ready to start another one. And I want to remind you guys, like, we were 3-0 against them at this point. We're bound to lose one game against most teams. Bound to. Not always, but bound to. We're just not a team that's always clean. And so we head into a Golden Guardians game, and I'm like, all right, whatever. We tried something new. And I don't regret us trying something new, by the way, against, arguably the worst team in the league. I don't even know if it could be argued anymore at this point, but... arguably the worst team in the league. I don't care, guys. Like, I said this. A loss against CLG or Golden Guardians, as long as we went 2-1, which is what I ultimately really wanted with a win over 100 Thieves, I didn't care about a loss. Like, it is what it is. We learn from these losses, guys. We do. We get better from them. And we're still in a good position. That's why I talked about all this before I went into this. Obviously, you can see I'm still frustrated. That game was really frustrating. But, it is what it is at this point. So you take a loss there. You didn't have the team. Like, I think if we had one scaling, true scaling carry, in that game, like, I think even if we had, like, a Viego in the mid lane for Power of Evil, I think that the game is wildly different. Even with the Mundo. But that's all right. Anyways, so... We leave up the Akali against Golden Guardians, which is odd for us. And then we ban the Kalista again against Stixxay. Guys, these are 2 of the worst AD carries in the league, respectively. And I say respectively because I don't think they're bad. They're not good. They're very mediocre right now compared to where they were. I just don't get it. And then again, we're banning this set, and I'm just like, why? Can somebody please describe to me why we are so afraid of set? I just don't get it. Anyways, I like that we got the Lee Sin. I like that we got the Diana. We got last time the Kai'Sa again, which is great. Wait, let me make sure. Yeah, I mean, back-to-back games of Lost Line Kai'Sa. I think it's actually potentially 3 games in a row. I'm totally fine with that. By the way, guys, I think we all should be. There's nothing wrong with Lost on Kai'Sa. Okay. And in general, he's played pretty well. And I look at our comp, and I like it, but the Trundle scares me to death, and the Akali scares me to death. Oh yeah, we didn't ban the Akali. My bad. We left it up. Yeah, I think I said that at the beginning. God, guys, you can tell I'm tired. Sorry. I just don't understand. Like you're leaving up the Trundle, whatever. Like most people aren't going to pick it. Like it is. I think Trundle's super strong right now, and we see it in this game, and we saw it kind of last week against C9. Trundle can be very good, and they outscaled the crap out of us. Like that's the problem with these comps. Like I want us to be early game focused, but I don't think we need to be all in only early game. When I look at our team, I see us as being able to be semi-early game focused, mostly through the jungle, specifically with Spica and Huni. But we still need Huni to be able to have game-changing type ultimates, right? We still need to have Power of Evil play something that he can have impact in late game team fights without dying basically instantly. And so we make some changes. We think, because we basically run almost the exact same comp that we just lost with CLG. The only changes are we don't run the Alistar, which is fine because I think that's actually better. I would rather us run the Leona here. And instead of running the Rumble, we run the Diana for more bursty, but still better damage, in my opinion, right now. I just don't think Rumble is as good as Diana currently. So, yeah, even though they outscale us, with the Varus and the Akali and the Trundle, we still have a pretty solid team. We just have to play it right. So our mechanics on this First Blood are so awesome. Saving the stun until, after Chime is trying to get out. So clean. Just, very nice. Love seeing that. But then Huni, they're doing a fight top lane, which, again, love that Spica got the first kill. I think that was super good. But then, he goes to top lane, and you can see, he's having more of an impact. Guys, there's something up with Spica where in these games, and we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, I just don't... I wonder where he's at mentally when he's just not doing anything. Because in 2 games, this weekend, he just is nowhere to be found. I don't know if it's because of the lanes losing. I don't know if it's because he's just tilted. I don't understand where he goes. And he has got to learn to figure that out. He's got to learn to get the hell over it, too. Because when I watch TSM Legends, dude, sometimes I'm like, boy, get over yourself. This is a team game. I know you're frustrated with the team at times and their ability, but you really got to look at yourself, too. You really got to focus on why are you not doing what the team needs you to do. And there are 2 very specific examples of this, because then there's the example of this game where they win, where he has a major impact in the early game. Huni probably could have lived in this top lane, against Licorice, at least in this first time. I don't understand why he uses the empowered stun instead of the empowered heal. I know that you're able to use the stun. It gets you the extra stacks to potentially get the heal early too. But I feel like he could have, queued to get the healing bonus and then stunned, because you don't need the extra swing when you have Spica coming in. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I played a good bit of Renekton not too long ago, to where I kind of remember these combos pretty well, or just not even the combos, but just the abilities and his empowered abilities. And you get the extra healing from the Q when he's enraged. So I just don't... I don't know. It was very strange, to say the least. But at least Spica gets the kill, so, whatever. Spica's 2-0. It's could have been better for Huni, but that's fine. I appreciate and actually really enjoy the fact that Power of Evil is at least even with the Akali at this point. Clearly the laning to at least stay even is not a problem with Power of Evil with this champion, which it shouldn't be. I mean, he's way too good for it to be kind of anything else, in my opinion, but that's fine. It's a really good play by Lost to get out. And then, the TP top. And then we get the TP from the Lee Sin. Just Lost being able to survive there. They get the kill. There's a nice play top with Spica and Huni. And I would argue this is one of the best early games we've ever had. At least this year. Obviously, we've had better early games as TSM as a whole, but this year, I really, really liked it. Lost is super far ahead, which he really shouldn't be, but he is at 60 minutes. And then we have this fight bot, and I don't understand like how we lose this fight, because it just feels bad, man. Like I don't know. We're like making this weird play where, wait, is this the one? Sorry, I had to pull this one up because I watched this game a couple days ago. Oh yeah. So no, this isn't even the weird fight bot. It's the weird fight mid. Like, Spica ults on the only tanky member. Huni, oh, sorry guys. 1 second. My dogs are barking really loudly. Anyways, had to mute there for a second, guys. Normally don't do that in podcasts. I'm not going to cut it out because it's only like 3 seconds. But yeah, my dogs have weird barks. Anyways, so, Huni ends up, or no, it's just that Sword Art just ends up dying here in the mid lane. It's strange. We still get the Drake though, so, whatever. Not going to complain too much. But then, God. It's just feels so strange to see us not playing these champions that we really should know how to play. And it is what it is. So we're fighting in the bot lane. We're not winning. Spica ult's the only tanky member. Huni is just way too deep. PoE is way too deep. And the Trundle is kind of proving why he is as strong as he is. Against our team, he's able to make, I think somebody said on the broadcast, but he's able to make, Sword Art or Huni, or Power of Evil very, very weak because of his ult stealing tank stats. But then, Blaze Olive is showing, why we need to ban Akali. He solo kills Huni, which just looks rough. We're just not as good as we need to be there. But then Spica has, the big play of the day. He misses the dragon, but still gets a really big ult. And his Void Staff clearly is just doing a ton of work there. I love the fact that he gets the Void Staff early because they have 3 very tanky members on the team. And, even just that, like, you can already see, like, Iconic has the Mercury treads. And so there's a lot of stuff to like there. And it shows that he's paying attention. He knows what he's looking for there. So it's a good play. And, as I'm watching this game go on, I'm thinking, all right, Power of Evil, knows how to play Lee, but it's very clear that he doesn't understand the positioning aspect of him. His fight at Baron is pretty rough. And it's clear that he just needs more practice. He's making some of these interesting plays. He's trying to do the flash kicks. They're just not super. They're not there yet. They're not all the way there yet. But either way, I love that Spica ends up doing a play where he jumps in on the Q around Baron to get Chime like right away. And this allows TSM to turn around because Golden Guardians were starting to come back at this point. And, Sword Art is able to jump in, get Olive, even though he's playing Akali, which is crazy to me. And then near the end of the fight, Spica's just holding on to his ult until the end. I don't know. I really thought this game was closer, and everybody's, like, talking up Spica. And, yeah, he makes a lot of great plays, but he's also, kind of fed on the Diana. I really actually think that Lost plays this game very well. He's using his ults correctly. He's doing the burst damage that he needs to. There's just a lot of things to really like about this game overall. From TSM, they're able to come back. They're able to show the Lee Sin. They're able to show the Diana, the Renekton. They're able to show the 4 melee comp. And, their mid game isn't as great as we would have liked. But the early game is good. They're able to, stack the Drakes, which is what you need to do with a melee comp that doesn't necessarily have a lot of scaling. And so, even though that they outscale the crap out of us, like, we're able to take good fights. We're able to make all these plays. And again, I want to remind you, as I talked about at the beginning of this whole thing, this Golden Guardians team is a much better team with just the addition of Licorice. And this is, again, there's nothing on Solo. Solo's a good player. But Licorice is a much better player when he has a good team around him. And he's not going to get focused like he did with FlyQuest or whatever was wrong with them. He's able to play really well. And so we're 1-1 and we're heading into 100 Thieves. And we've seemingly solved our issues in terms of the way we want to play this weekend. But then we head into this 100 Thieves game. So we ban, again, the set. But we do ban the Diana and the Akali, which I like, because I think closer on Diana is quite scary. I think that we could have still played it, but that's okay. Glad we're getting rid of the Akali, even though we just won against it. I don't want to give it to the best team in the league, right? Especially to Abadage. So, not going to deal with that. Don't love that we're giving the Gwen. Wish that we could play it. Don't know if we ever will be able to. But whatever. I like us getting the Viego first pick. I think Viego's a good champion for us. I really enjoy his ability to carry and allow for Power of Evil to play something that's a little bit more meta, or allow for Speaker or Huni. It's a very flexible pick. It's one of the very few, it feels like, flexible picks that we have available right now. Because, by the way, if we could play Gwen, Gwen can play jungle. Would not surprise me to see us playing Gwen jungle at some point here soon, because I think Spica would be somebody to finally pick her up for us. I actually really, when I look at a comp, I really like it a lot. I think we have good scaling, obviously, between the Azir and the Varus. We have a lot of engage. We have, plenty of damage overall. We have a nice tank. I know they were talking about, I'm worried about the Gwen versus Mundo matchup. Like, you don't get to use his passive. I'll be honest with you. Mundo is there to soak up damage. I think sometimes the announcers focus way too much on the 1v1s. Mundo, it doesn't matter. It's like Mundo's like Ornn or something else. Like, it doesn't matter if you get your advantages in the lane. It doesn't matter. Again, this is all my opinion. It doesn't matter if he's 20 CS behind. That his purpose is not to have a bunch of items or have a bunch of resources. Mundo is literally there to be a wall and soak up as much damage as humanly possible, or I guess as whatever he is, weird doctor guy possible. That's what matters, guys. That is what matters. And so, I just feel like this is a good comp for us, because when I look at this, their comp, the only thing that really truly scares me is the Sylas when I look at it initially. I actually thought that the Olaf pick was troll. Like, I understand that they can run through the team, but it's like, if the Olaf is the only one who can run through the team, then it doesn't matter, right? Because, like, even if you get the hook from Thresh, even if you get the Sylas jumping in and the Gwen jumping in, all it takes is one Power of Evil ult in a team fight to push those 3 members pretty far out of a fight, and the Olaf is running in by himself. And you can just burst him down, and then you can focus on the rest of them. But this game doesn't go that way. So in the early game, great gank, really nice gank by Spica. Again, he's having presence in the early game.
Well, at least this one time. And they get a kill onto Someday. It goes over to Hooney. Literally, that kill alone makes it so that you don't have to worry about the whole rest of the game in top lane. Because then we lose both dragons. And it's like, I'm okay with us losing the one. I understand that we don't like have the push or anything in the bot lane. But it's like, what are we doing after that first kill? Is Hunya going to try to, or excuse me, is Spica going to try to out-farm an Olaf? I hope not, because that's pretty freaking unlikely. You know, is our bot lane going to win? No, our bot lane's not going to win. But we talked about this. Like, you need to, like, against a team that's as good as 100 Thieves, and when we play internationally, and when we play in playoffs, hopefully when we play internationally, we have got to make these plays in order to... We've got to make these plays in order to show that we are cognizant of the fact that we don't have... we can't give it over to them, at least. And giving up the first two Drakes, to me, is such a... Again, a communication factor that we don't really talk about. But it's like every lane is losing except for top. And that can be left alone. Like, it doesn't matter. You don't need to get Hooney ahead. That's not the point of this. And yet, Spica just does nothing after this first one. You have one of the easiest champions to gank for. I understand that his ganks are very, telegraphed. It's super easy to see it. But it's just... He just disappears for these games sometimes. And he's not the scaling option that an Olaf is. He's never going to beat an Olaf in a 1v1. Not never, but it's pretty unlikely, especially when he has Ragnarok, his ultimate. And yet, for the early game, there's nothing. We give up these two Drakes after getting the kill top, and it's just like, well, we can't do anything with that. And finally, in the mid game, we do make a nice TP play in the bot lane. It's a great idea. We were able to get Huhi. We're able to get FBI. FBI is really far ahead, and he has a tower. Sorry, I'm a little distracted today. Getting tired, and dogs have been barking. Everything, craziness. Apologies. That's part of the reason why recording all this stuff at home can be a little distracting at times. And I don't have an audio person to tell me how to fix all this stuff. So some of those dog barkings and stuff are just going to be in the episode and those pauses. Sorry, guys. It just is what it is. A little bit of scuffed podcast today. Anywho, it's great that we're able to finally punish Huhi and FBI, but I don't understand why we're doing it after FBI is already 20 CS ahead and after he already has a tower. Because, we do that, and then we do nothing with it. We just die. Power of Evil just freaking walks by himself when we know that there's at least one, probably two people in our jungle. Because we don't see them back on the lane. And we know that they were on our side of the jungle because we saw them earlier. And we just lose the whole advantage that we just got. Because we lose 2 kills, even if we get the 1. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just bad. And then the Olaf just runs over everything. We have a nice, gank in the top lane. We kill FBI, but it literally doesn't matter because he just runs straight at Lost, kills Lost, and then just runs over the rest of the fight. And I was clearly very wrong about this Olaf. I mean, I thought he was trolling. Because I was like, I don't think Olaf's really in the meta. I don't know. I get the fact that he can just, R and get through all the CC that we have, but Closer's just a good Olaf, I guess. I don't know. We're not able to get Someday in the top lane, which is so unfortunate. And then Spica, for some reason, is fighting Huhi. He's not going to be able to kill the Thresh by himself right away. He's not that far enough ahead. And all it takes is one lantern, bam, he's dead. Should have thought that. When you're losing the fight on the top side, just get out, dude. Then we lose out on a Soul. We never get a Drake, which was the only way we were going to win this game. And it's just a bad game. I don't even need to go over the rest. I really thought I was going to be able to spend a lot of time on this game, that we'd have like a lot of things to discuss. But it's just a terrible game overall. Reiterating, as I do, this is not the end of the world. We're still 2-2 against 100 Thieves, because I want you guys to know I'm going into my overall thoughts on the weekend now. That said, it's still not a great weekend. And I would prefer that we try to perfect our second style, if you want to call it that, of being bot lane focused before going into this third style of quad melee. We know we have late game scaling. That's normally a good thing for us. And we didn't play it well against 100 Thieves. I think there are a couple reasons around that, but that's okay. But it's just like, why not get this bot lane focus style down? I know it's not a hard style. I know it's not something like drastically different. But being able to play through Huni or being able to play through the bot lane, when you have somebody like Power of Evil in the mid lane and Spica in the jungle, that's what scares people. That's what makes us good. We don't have to necessarily bend to the will of the meta to a certain degree. But it is still to a certain degree. Because, like, why not put Sejuani in? And I can tell you why. Like, I battled myself with this. I was like, okay, why not put the Sejuani in? Like, with all these melee champions, her amount of CC alone is enough to win games. Like, I know she's not top tier. But with all these melee champions, she should absolutely at least be looked at by somebody like Spica who can play her well. But the reason why, at least in my opinion, the reason why we haven't seen a Sejuani, at least on our team specifically, and I know that like one champion's not going to do everything to fix everything. I really understand that. I think people think maybe I'm like hyper focused on Galio or whatever, Sejuani. Like, I like tanky CC champions. By the way, had to get the obligatory Galio in there. But like, you have to get these tanky CC champions really work against things like Silas's, things like Gwen's. Not as much Olaf, but like all these dive champions, because there is so much dive in the meta right now. And yet we don't play them. Well, we don't play her because we don't play Sylas or Gwen. You need the AP options for melee. Sylas is a great one. Nobody on our team plays it. I don't understand why. Like, just play Sylas 20 games. You don't even need 20 games on him to learn him. He's not hard. Why does Power of Evil and why do Power of Evil and Huni not play him? And then this Gwen, dude, like, she's a good champion. And we don't play her. And we don't play Akali. We barely play Diana. These are the things that frustrate me. Like, why are we picking up the Lee Sin 3 weeks after it's super good? Why didn't we play it when it was like God tier? Why are we so far behind on these meta reads? Like, this is the kind of stuff, this is why you go 0-6 at Worlds. Because you pick up the meta too slowly. And it's just so frustrating. That's the part that frustrates me. It's not the losses, because you can learn from those. And we are going to learn from those. And we'll get better from them. It's the TPs and the lacks of communications going into fights with no freaking clue where we're going with it. And then not being able to you don't have to have a champion ocean, but you have to at least be able to play these champions. Like, Silas will always be relevant. I'm just telling you guys right now. That will be a champion that we will probably always see unless if they nerf him into the ground again, which they have done in the past. But, like, he's a great counter. He's in the meta currently. He's going to probably stay in the meta for a while. Like, that's a champion you need to learn. Gwen is the newest, well, I guess technically second newest champion now in the game. Like, Action's going to probably be available for Worlds when he comes out. Okay? Because he's coming out soon enough to where I don't know if he'll be available for playoffs, but I would imagine he'll be available for Worlds. And are you going to tell me right now that Power People is probably not going to learn that champion? Because that's the way it's looking. But he's going to be in the meta. You know he's going to be there. New champions always are. They have got to learn to just learn them. They've learned Viego. That's awesome. They learned him in the right time. I think he is definitely a champion that we can play. We've learned the Mundo. That's great. That's great. You don't have to learn every champion. But you got to at least know the ones that are new to a certain degree. And you got to definitely know Silas. That one I just purely don't understand. If they know Viego and they know the Mundo, but they don't know the Gwen, whatever, I guess. I really shouldn't maybe be that mad about that one. But guys, these guys are pros, man. You gotta be able to at least have somewhat of a feel in the meta. And right now, like, Power of Evil not being able to play some of these champions in the meta it's starting to show. And Power of Evil is still a great player. And he needs time. And we saw this weekend he's learning his Lee Sin. But is Lee Sin even gonna still be meta? I don't know. Saying all this, I'm still going to say we shouldn't overreact. It was a weird weekend in the LCS. I talked about this at the beginning. I'm going to dive into it now. 100 Thieves had 2 losses in a row up to this point against teams that are not considered to be very good, right? They lost to Golden Guardians, and then Evil Geniuses are a good team, obviously. But, yeah. We're still only 1 game back of them with 3 weeks left. We're also 2 games up still on Cloud9, Evil Geniuses, and Team Liquid. But we have some big games coming up in this 3rd round robin, guys. Really good games. Big ones, too. Luckily, the coming week is going to be our only true break before the rest of the season. Like, and when I say a break, I don't mean like we don't take these games seriously. But here's how I look at it. In week 7, we have FlyQuest, Immortals, and Team Liquid. Yes, FlyQuest are playing better. We still should beat them, even though they've had our number all season. Immortals are a better team, but they don't beat top-tier teams. They just don't. So we should beat them. And Team Liquid are clearly on a decline. And I don't know that that's going to change anytime soon. So we have to take advantage of this weekend. We really need a nice 3-0, but we need to be able to take advantage of the fact that we should practice the new things. We should practice, really getting down these different comps and stuff. But we need to play our comforts because we need to make sure that we go 3-0 this weekend. Because 100 Thieves have Dig, TL, and FlyQuest. They have a pretty easy schedule. Cloud9 have Immortal, CLG, and Golden Guardians. Not too bad. Evil Geniuses have Golden Guardians, FlyQuest, Dignitas, not too bad, right? TL have CLG, 100 Thieves, and TSM. They have the hardest schedule of the weekend. Everybody has a nice little break here. None of the teams except for TL, 100 Thieves, and Evil Geniuses. No, not Evil Geniuses. Excuse me. Only TL of the top 5 teams. Only TL and 100 Thieves play each other. So we need to have a 3-0 this weekend. We need it. But at the same time, I think we just play late game scaling comps with good enough disengage to where we don't need to worry about these super dive comps. And we need to mentally reset and get ready for the final push because week 8 starts a really tough weekend. We get Evil Geniuses, then Golden Guardians, and then C9. Then, at the beginning of week 9, we lead off with 100 Thieves before we finish out with CLG and Dignitas. Listen, the LCS is getting better. There's no doubt in my mind, and there's not going to be like super duper easy games. There are games that we should definitely win, but every team is losing right now. We are still, luckily, within one game of first place. Cloud9 are on the decline. Team Liquid are on the decline. Evil Geniuses are on their way up. In our next round robin, like, we're 2-2 against 100 Thieves and Evil Geniuses. Clearly the other two best teams in the league right now. We have got to win those games. We need the head-to-head badly. Luckily, these games, the next week, don't matter in terms of the head-to-head, but you need to win them so that we can have the ability to be higher in the standings. 100 Thieves are a beatable team. We didn't make it seem like that on Sunday, but they are a beatable team. And we have 3 weeks to figure out our comms and our TPs. And we have 3 weeks to figure out our champions and stuff before we head into the playoffs. Because at a minimum, we want second place, guys. We really, really want it. Because that's a nice week break before we have to head into all of the craziness that is the double round robin. Or the double elimination bracket. Where, you know, even if we don't get to pick our, you know, our person or our team that we would like to play, at least we have the bye week. At least we have the opportunity to skip that first round if we get second place. I really want first because I really like to be able to pick Team Liquid, who I'm hoping at least will make it into that second round because I think that that's our best matchup right now. I don't really want to face Cloud9 in playoffs. I'm still not overly scared of Evil Geniuses. I think eventually they're going to coin flip tails, but I'd really like to be able to pick them, or, you know, by the miracle that the 6th place team, whoever that ends up being, likely still Dignitas, ends up winning their game, that we can pick Dig or something like that. Like, I would love to just, God, I would love to be able to just pick that first one and be able to, like, have us be literally, like, 1, maybe 2 series away from Worlds. Because, again, that's what I care about, guys. I really want to see us get to Worlds. I would love an LCS championship. That'd be great. But I really want to get to Worlds. Let's not panic. It's all good. I think this is our first 1-2 weekend in quite a while. It happens to everybody. It happened to 100 Thieves. It's all good. There are things that we have to work on. We're finally noticing. Remember when I said this back in spring when we had a really awful weekend? I said, okay, like, this is learning time. This is time where we can figure things out. That's how I feel about this still. I hope you guys do too. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment. If you're watching on YouTube channel, on YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel, hit the bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Please leave a review on all podcasting platforms. It's greatly appreciated. Share this with your friends. You can hit me up at TGH Robert Haynes or at TGH Esports on Twitter. Lastly, head to thegamehouse.com. Check out our TSM page. Check out our esports page, our sports stuff. A lot of great things going on. NBA Finals are still going on. MLB All-Star Games getting ready to begin. We just found out, by the way, that... Oh, yeah, forgot to do this real quickly. So, LCS Finals are going to be in New Jersey. Newark, Jersey. I believe it's... I want to say it's at the Prudential Center, I think. I will be there. Literally going to probably buy the tickets either today or tomorrow. I'll be there as press, but I'm more than happy to meet up with anybody who wants to, you know, come say hi for Talkie TSM. So hit me up if you are going to be there. I would love to meet some of you. I think it's going to be super duper fun. So, yay for that. Yeah, and with that, thanks for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday and Thursday, and it's exclusively for your TSM ear holes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. I'll see you on Thursday.